Thank you so much for your time, and I apologize immediately. I'm in a different setup than normal, so my computer's down here. So if I'm like nodding and looking down, it's no disrespect of any kind. I apologize.
Very kind of you to say that. I'm sure it'll
I'm
be fine.
I'm also in a very swivelly chair that I can't help but swivel, so hopefully that doesn't look off.
You not swivel when you can swivel.
All right. So, but for more important things, obviously, I'll start off because I was luckily able to stay completely blind about this movie from when it was having its festival runs, where I missed my chance to see it. So I was able to finally sit and watch this with a fresh mind. And it's something where I think people will see the title or know what it's about and expect something, and of course, it's not what you get. Was there like a very due diligence to try and stay on a certain level for A, what you're presenting before people see it, and B, even what they are seeing?
I'm certainly not a part of the marketing, so I have no idea about that. But well, that makes me curious about, okay, well, you should tell me, like, what were you expecting and then what did you get?
Well, you know what? It's still the same thing I was expecting to get, but as far as again, you see the title and you may think this is going to be just dark and depressing, and it's not. And you do that especially with the music. For people who are still confused, not confused, but are still wondering, it's like, well, what really do these thoughts mean in her mind? And so like it does keep on that very sweet level.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the nailing, like what the tone and the atmosphere would be and the nature of Fran is from the script. They built this person. And then I got to build a world around this person and tell her story. But the root structure is in this person because it's a first person narrative, which was one of the draws. And so if you're going to live in this person's mind, then the atmosphere of the movie must reflect that. And also the thematic of the film or the thematics of the film are, I think, incredibly hopeful and galvanizing and enthusiastic about living life. I think when we're thinking about dying, we're actually really worried about living and living well, living meaningfully, living happily. What is it, and looking for that. So that's why I think there's an immediate juxtaposition between death and life merely at the mention of death, right? We are thinking of, oh, the anticipation of time. How much do we have and how are we using it?
Well, I also think that there is a certain level of, I mean, look, I'm not trying to impose any specific kind of diagnosis on both Fran and Robert, let's say, or what they are. But I look at it and I'm like, I'm both of these characters because even though nobody believes it when they hear me talk like this, that I'm extremely introverted, and I have a lot of those same feelings and same ideas of like, well, I want to be a part of something, but at the same time, when you become part of it, it's like, this is just weird, let me back off a bit. And then when it comes to Robert, he's not super extroverted, but in the same breath, he is a lot more, you know, wanting to be a part of something and talk to people. And I feel like I'm both sides of those things. And so I'm ranting now. I'm not even asking a question.
We're having a conversation.
But that's the thing. Like, David, for you is this like kind of like you have to search for also like that feeling of that character? Or is again, it's like, it's in a script. I know what I have to perform and I'm just performing it. It doesn't matter what I kind of have to delve to find.
No, I think both. I think I'm like you just said. I remember like a few days ago I was at like a screening and I felt like I could talk to certain people, but then if I didn't know them that well and I felt the conversation wasn't going anywhere, I immediately got inside I was like, okay, I'm having a panic here. I just can't. And then I wanted to like leave. Do you know what I mean? So there'll be points in my life where I can be outgoing and cheerful and laughing, but there's other points where I'm like, man, I just need to be, but I just can't. I just gotta go sit down somewhere. So I think, I was able to see that in Fran's character as well, and then like I have an understanding there, and that helped me play off with her. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Help me find. So it was a little bit of it was some digging, but I've been in those experiences.
I do have to say, and forgive me for the way I'm going to word this, because I'm going to word this very specifically, and because I don't mean it in any bad terms whatsoever. But Rachel, I do feel attacked because when I saw her filling out that retirement card, I saw the chicken scratch above hers, and I'm like, that's me. I'm the guy with the chicken scratch, and I'm the guy at the party, who has to fill out the cards. I'm like, I gotta try and be comfortable because otherwise people won't know what I'm saying. It's like, so I feel a little bit attacked. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, I'm just telling the truth. I'm out here color and showing the world who they are. But no, I love that you're finding so much of yourself in the film, and all these little minutiae of our day and how we spend a life and how we express ourselves or we fail to express ourselves. And I think we are incredibly beguiling animals in our complexity and our hilarity and our sensitivity. And I think if there's anything that marks a lot of my work, it's my interest in that. And that about human beings. I'm interested in that.
Well, on the other side of it, again, for both creating it and then also Dave for being a person portraying inside of that world, for talking about the office life. Like, I'm not going to be a fool and say that, oh, you guys are filmmakers, you must have never had an office job. Of course, we all had jobs, but that type of atmosphere still is very specific. And while it's been portrayed before, here it's kind of almost the most realistic to kind of how that feeling is. Are there any kind of personal things that you guys bought into that, or is again, it's just this is what we have written, this is what we're going with?
Well, most of the stuff in the office wasn't written. There's some scenes that we follow, dialogue, but most of what you see on screen from the office is from what the ensemble was providing by being in the space that Dan designed with me. And he executed so excellently and so with such detail, as beyond my dreams, which allowed each of them to have a little playing space. Their desks, the computers worked. They had spreadsheets and working email and working phones, and they could, walk from their desk to the coffee room and go make a Keurig if they wanted. Like, it was alive. It was a live place for them to live in. And I had the most talented, skilled, creative ensemble of actors. So it was sort of, just turn the camera on, that's make a good frame and around this life that's happening in front of you. And that was such a willingness to play and trust from the ensemble that contributed so much to what we got to see. And then when we were doing more scripted moments, it allowed the scripted moments, I think, to feel very alive as well, because we had that experience with each other. It infused and informed the scripted beats in a way that was beautiful.
Dave, for you as well, was there anything specifically, as far as performance-wise, that was affected through that?
Rachel, told us to bring stuff to put on our desk, and I thought that was amazing, because it just kind of, made your desk like yours, as opposed to just sitting and there was just stuff that was there. And I think, again, her letting us play, and us getting to know each other. There's like a Jeb's character kept bringing fans. I just can't. I don't know why that.
Well, there's that fan below Parv's desk, and I was like, because we do these things called, like, it's like the last hour of the day would be like playtime, where we could just mess around and come up with scenarios and stuff. And I remember there was this like fan on below Parv's desk, and I was like, Jeb, go get that fan. And then I was like, Parv, don't let him have the fan. Like, do everything you can. But then Parv took that, and then Jeb took it, and they ran with, like, Parv kind of made it where he was just messing with him, because he was like, I never used that fan. But he's just like giving him a hard time. And then like Sean's just between these two people, and then Jeb's just standing in the hallway with it. And I was like, it doesn't work. And you just run with it. I could feed a thing, but then the actors would feed me something, and then I could feed back. It was this wonderful conversation through ideas and performance. So I felt like I got to play too. They let me do that. They let me play with them in that way. And it was, Jeb, because Jeb kept like having things where he'd have conversations when he would be not center screen, but like filling in space, like, because it was alive, and he would talk about how hot he was. all the time, and he was very concerned about temperature.
Because you developed this like thing where we were so comfortable with each other after a while that like I think even when the cameras weren't on, like in real life, we
Mm.
became the close unit. And I remember particularly Jeb, I went into one of the rooms, I don't know if I told you, and I opened it and Jeb was lying on the ground.
Oh,
Like,
was he just resting?
well, I didn't know. He was just flat out on his back. I thought something happened. I go, Jeb? And he goes, but he didn't turn his head. He just kind of looked at the ceiling. He goes, yeah. I go, are you all right? He goes, yeah, just taking a nap. Just shut the
Yeah.
door.
It, I know it happens more often than not. I mean, there's a person I won't tell a story about because they're very famous now. But a long time ago, I worked on a set and found this person not only sleeping in the middle of the set, but sucking their thumb. So we'll keep it at that. Uh,
Oh,
anyway,
Whoa.
not to harp on The Office too much longer either, but I do like, to me that felt like it was an actual office that you built up to what you needed to be, not a set. Am I wrong?
yeah, it was bare bones. It was a building that we found. And because I was looking for an office space, and I saw that there was a for lease sign, or it was made, it was very clear there was a for lease sign. It's a small town, you can see everything.
Yeah.
And okay, like let's go check it out. We're looking at these different offices, and then the Port Authority that we ultimately worked with on this, they were like, oh, we have these new offices, and I was like, no, I want to see the one that's upstairs.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, but it's like ripped carpet and there's stains and it's old. And I was like, correct. And so then we went up there and it was empty. We had carpeting, and there was some pieces that were haphazardly left, but there was coated in dust, and there was wires from the ceiling. And I was just like, and that's what I wanted. I wanted that wear and tear of time, and I wanted that have its own idiosyncrasy. And it was like, okay. And I'm very sensitive to color, and the fact that even like the color scheme in there was sort of close to the palette that I was working on, I was like, oh my God, yes. And then there's the windows that look right out onto that bridge and that port and all that. The life of that town is right outside those windows. So yeah, it was created from nothing in a sense, and that was to the credit of our team and our crew putting that together very quickly. And it was completely 360. It was fully lived in space.
Now, I don't know much about the play that it was based on. And based on seeing the title of the play, I imagine that the play maybe was only that party scene where they're playing that game, and then maybe the scripts expand upon that. Am I wrong in that? What were maybe the differences between the two?
I
So,
didn't write it.
well, I thought maybe you saw it. I thought maybe you had seen it.
No. The feature film script came to me, and then
Oh, okay.
I made a decision very early on that for me to keep my ethical principles of art making intact, I would not watch or consume the preceding materials. So that way, any choices that I'm making, I can surely say they're mine, and I wouldn't have any inkling that I was not attributing something that might have filtered in.
Well, I have to let you guys go. Thank you so much for your time. Wish we could just stay around and just chat anyway and not even ask questions, but it's got to be what it's got to be. Have a great day.
As well.
Have a
Take
great
care.
day.